What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to The Order. Finally, a storm has arrived in Marvel's Midnight Suns. The long-awaited final character of the game's initial season pass, Storm descends upon the roster with pretty high expectations for what she'll bring to the team. In this video, we'll be breaking down exactly everything you need to know about the DLC Bloodstorm and what Storm brings to the table, taking a look at her cards and abilities, and so much more. If you're new to The Order, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I've covered Midnight Suns since before the game's launch, and I've got plenty of videos on all facets of the game, including breakdowns of each of the 4 Season Pass characters. I'm also planning on doing an updated final tier ranking for all the characters in the game, with the new heroes included, so keep an eye out for that. Now, you'll begin the Storm DLC, just like all the other DLCs, by visiting the mirror table and selecting the story mission Hard Knock Life. Do note you'll need to have first met Wolverine in the main campaign in order to begin the Storm quest line, so keep that in mind if you're still early on in your playthrough. Bloodstorm focuses on the team's pursuit of a young mutant named Dahlia and weaves its way back into the overarching vampire narrative that began all the way back in the Deadpool DLC. The conversations between Storm, Magic, and Wolverine are one of my favorite things about this DLC, as you can really feel the shared history between these 3 X-Men. It just makes me really want a full-on X-Men RPG again. Somebody make that happen now, please. Storm will join the team back at the Abbey, where she'll be available for hangouts and friendship progression. Advancing Storm past friendship level 2 will unlock her passive, Rising Storm, which has a low 10% chance for Storm attacks to stun the target. At level 2, this percentage is increased by 5% for every Storm card in your hand. The DLC also comes with the requisite new Abbey upgrade that you can unlock via a new research project. This time around, it's an enhanced version of the threat room in the yard that allows you to fully customize your combat training experience, from difficulty to roster, enemy type, villains, allowing you a great place to explore multiple combat scenarios and theory craft team synergies. There's also a new combat item, Rune of Force, which turns your shoves into forceful knockbacks for 1 turn. Considering you could only use 1 shove per turn anyway, outside the extra you get from a discard, this feels like a bit of a waste of time if I'm being honest. Now, let's talk about Storm herself. There was a lot of anticipation for just what exactly Storm's deck would look like. Considering her ability to manipulate the elements of weather, there was a ton of potential for an absolute powerhouse of a character. And by and large, she pretty much delivers, though the focus here is primarily on the lightning effects within her skill set. Storm can serve as a self-synergizing AoE queen, with the added bonus of having some pretty strong utility abilities that allow her to truly benefit the roster, though there's a catch to some of that, which we'll dive into in a second. Let's take a look at some of the key cards here. As customary, let's start with the dedicated quick card here, Gale Force. This one offers you a forceful knockback with quick on upgrade, essentially a more reliable version of Morbius's Savage Swipe. This is a strong quick card when used to target elites with minions nearby, and the mod possibilities like further buffing Storm's damage with Strengthened are pretty robust. Vortex is a rather unique attack card which offers AoE knockback in a small area. Emphasis on small. This card really benefits from a mod that increases the area effect to make it more effective. Now, I mentioned the catch with Storm, and this is in her next turn mechanic. Cards with this tag have an additional effect added onto them when held in your hand and played on the subsequent turn, and some of these effects are genuinely impactful. But this does raise the biggest issue with her character, which is that in order to get the most out of Storm, you have to simply withhold using some of her abilities in hand until you can get to that next turn activation, which can lead to some tough decisions and potential hand clogging. Thankfully, the solution to this comes in her epic tier skill card, Goddess's Blessing, which not only draws additional Storm cards, but immediately activates the next turn mechanic on all of the Storm cards in your hand. This absolutely feels like an essential card in every Storm deck, and when paired with a mod that buffs the amount of heroism it generates, will give you the ability to immediately play any of the potential Storm heroics you might draw. Storm Shield is a strong contender for one of the better support cards in all of Midnight Suns. On upgrade, this card gives all your allies 2 resist and 1 counter, so you'll have to hold onto the card for a turn in order to add a stack of resist to Storm herself. Either way, the fact that this card functions similarly to the Doctor Strange heroic Shield of the Seraphim, but without the heroism cost, gives Storm excellent team utility that instantly makes her one of the more balanced and useful characters in the game. Yes, she can do great damage, but she can also support and protect her teammates. That's pretty awesome. On to her heroics. Crushing Blow is a solid single target heroic card doing 150% of Storm's offense, but with the next turn mechanic, that damage is doubled, as is the heroism cost. When paired with additional buffs, including the one we'll see on the next card, Storm has the ability to do rock solid single target damage on elite enemies with this skill. Live Wire is another low cost heroic with 2 distinct effects. It's a single target stun, but when left in your hand, it'll buff Storm's offense by 50%, affecting all of your Storm attacks and significantly raising her damage ceiling. While I don't love the idea of a card just occupying your hand for the sake of a buff, I do like the marriage of the 2 effects, as stunning an enemy is largely situational, and you can wait for the right time to use it while simultaneously increasing her offense. Lastly, I want to mention her other epic tier card, Call the Lightning, which on upgrade does 250% of Storm's offense to all enemies in an area, with an increased radius on next turn. Again, combine this with some of the buffing abilities we mentioned earlier, and this is a pretty devastating AoE card to have in your hand to dispel a group of enemies in an instant with plenty of mod options to increase its effectiveness. All in all, it's hard not to like everything Storm brings to the table. You'll need to find the right balance between proper hand management and stacking her cards for their next turn effects, but playing her alongside a lot of characters with one-and-done skills like, say, the Hunter or even Wolverine, and there's really not a situation where Storm can't be useful. I think next to Morbius, she's the clear best in class of the Season Pass characters, and someone who should slide well into most rosters in need of AoE damage and utility. Speaking of the Season Pass characters, after completing all 3 story missions with Storm, and assuming you've completed all previous DLC missions with Deadpool, Venom, and Morbius, you'll be prompted with the following message alerting you to a secret final mission that wraps up the vampire story arc woven throughout the 4 DLC updates. No spoilers, but it's a fun payoff, and I really appreciate its inclusion here, as it ties up everything nicely and speaks to a level of care and planning from the Firaxis team that I just really appreciate. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on Storm, this final Season Pass update, and the Season Pass as a whole. Will there be a Season 2 of Marvel's Midnight Suns? Well, we don't know as of the time of this video, but if so, I'll be eager to dive into all of it with you guys again. If you found this video helpful or insightful at all, be sure to hit it with a like and subscribe to the channel for more Midnight Suns coverage, as well as coverage for the upcoming Spider-Man 2 game, which I am absolutely pumped for. Until next time, have a good one.